Today I'm going to put the Arylic S10 and the WiiM Mini in a head-to-head competition. We're going to be awarding points to determine which one is the better streamer. This competition was closer than I expected. Let's jump into it next. Now the rules here are going to be really easy. I'm going to award 1 point to each streamer based on which feature I prefer and even which one sounds better in my opinion. We'll add all those up and determine which one wins. A full disclosure, Arylic sent me the S10 streamer to review for this video, but they're not paying me to make this video. And actually, I bought the WiiM Mini specifically to make this comparison. So now that I think about it, I'm actually already in the hole on this video. Awesome. All right, let's get to it with round one, which is price. The Arylic S10 is currently listed on Amazon for $80, while the WiiM Mini is listed at $100. So we're going to award 1 point for the lowest price, and that goes to the Arylic S10. Now the good news about these streamers is that they often go on sale. So if you're shopping for one, just keep an eye out because they drop the prices and you can snatch one up for a great price. All right, round two. One of these units comes with a remote control at the list price, while the other one requires you to spend more money in order to add a remote control and doesn't come with one. So we're going to award a 1 point to the Arylic S10. At $80, they went ahead and threw in a remote control, while the WiiM Mini actually requires you to either buy a remote separately or you can spend more money than the $100 and have a remote be added to it. Now, just so you know, I almost only wanted to award them half a point for this remote control because it didn't come with 2 AA batteries. But I'm lazy and I don't want to do fractions, so we'll just give them the full point. Consider yourself lucky, Arylic. Now, real quick, I wanted to point out that I am married to an art teacher, and so we use the word acrylic, as in paint, almost every day in our house. So for me to have to review a product with the name Arylic has really required me to have to rewire some of the neurons in the old gray matter. Round three, and this is kind of an odd one because these are wireless streamers, but there are some consumers out there that may still want to be able to make a physical connection to them. So we're going to award 1 point to the streamer that still allows you to make a LAN connection, and that is the Arylic S10. You'll notice back here, it still has the ability to actually make a physical connection if you want even better performance than just wireless streaming, while the WiiM Mini does not give you the ability. All right, if I'm doing math correctly, you never know, I think the Arylic is up 3-0 over the WiiM Mini. You all right there, buddy? You gonna make it? You gonna hang in there? I believe in you. You can do it. Just hang in there. All right, round four. And this one may be the most important for me, at least. Now, one of these streamers gives you the ability to connect an external DAC while the other one does not. So we are going to award 1 point to the WiiM Mini. That's right, the WiiM Mini comes with a SPDIF connection back here on the rear. They actually throw the cable in the box as well, which was nice because I bought another streamer once and I had to actually go buy the cable, which was annoying. But this will actually, the WiiM Mini will allow you to connect to an external DAC, while the Arylic only has 1 analog aux out, and therefore the Arylic requires you to use the internal DAC. Now the WiiM Mini has a brown bird DAC, I believe, as the internal one, but for people like me who like to test out different pieces of gear, an external DAC, to me, buying those are just fun, and subbing them in and see if you can hear any sound difference. So I'm awarding a point to the WiiM Mini for giving me the ability to connect an external DAC and just see how those sound using that streamer as well. I'm gonna be honest with you. That feature is so important to me, I almost gave you 2 points, but rules are rules. All right, round 5. This one is for output resolution. Let's award 1 point to the streamer that has the ability to output audio at a higher resolution than the other. That point is going to go to the WiiM Mini. That's right, this is a high-res streamer that can output at 24/192, while the Arylic comes in with just CD quality at 16/44. That's right, while the Arylic has an impressive CD quality playback, especially for the low price, I preferred the WiiM Mini having the ability to use high-res files and go up to 24/192, especially when playing back Tidal. Hey, check that out. I believe the score is now 3-2. You're coming back. You're coming back. All right, round 6, and this is kind of another weird one, and I'm not sure how popular this feature will be. But if you are someone that still has music on a USB stick and are interested in combining that with one of these streamers, one will give you the ability to use a USB input with a thumb drive, while the other one will not. So we're gonna award 1 point to the Arylic S10 for just having one more connectivity feature than the WiiM. If you look right here, it has the ability to connect a USB thumb drive. Now there is a limit of 1,000 songs. So if you've got a thumb drive with less than 1,000 songs, you can actually connect this directly to the streamer and play them from there, while the WiiM does not give you that ability. Is that feature even worth a full point? I don't know. Maybe this whole point thing was a mistake. All right, what's the score again? I need more friends. 1, 2. Okay, I believe the Arylic is up 4-2. But let's jump into what might be the most important point for everyone watching, and that is a comparison with sound. Who will win this point and the better sound between the two streamers? Now first, I connected each streamer to its own dedicated amplifier. Both were Class D amps that, in my opinion, have similar sound signatures. I connected those to my one Little Bear audio switch, which was connected to my one pair of speakers, which were my Klipsch Heresy speakers. And I was able to sit in my couch and sort of switch back and forth on the audio switch to hear the difference in sound. Now, then it occurred to me that I was gonna get comments that told me that I really shouldn't connect these to separate amplifiers, because then I have to take into account the amplifier sound when comparing the sound of each streamer. And okay, look, I agree with you there. So what I did was I then took each streamer and connected them to my Schiit Saga Plus preamp, which is then connected to the Fozzy Audio T20 amplifier, which was powering the Klipsch Heresy speakers. Now, the reason why I liked using the Schiit Saga Plus preamp is because it comes with a remote control, so I can sit back in my chair and flip back and forth between the inputs to get a sound comparison. It's also worth noting that I actually found a audiophile rock playlist from CNET from a few years ago on Tidal. So all the songs that I listened to were played via that playlist. Now, the first thing I want to point out when comparing the sound on these is the Arylic sound was always 4 to 6 decibels lower than the WiiM Mini, which, to be honest with you, I found kind of annoying. Now, the first song I listened to was You Got Your Cherry Bomb by the band Spoon. I like this song because there's really a lot going on. You've got horns, you've got this interesting percussion up in the upper frequencies, and the vocals are sort of recorded in multiple different ways. Now, I first listened with the Arylic S10, and to be honest with you, it sounded fine, and I really enjoyed listening to it. But when I switched inputs over to the WiiM Mini Pro, that's when the song really came alive. The horns were mixed much better. The detail in the upper frequency, especially on those percussion parts, it's like a triangle that's sort of dinging the whole song. That really stood out. And the vocals were a lot more forward, but in a pleasant way. Now, the next song I listened to was He Lays in the Rains by a band called Calexico, which I really enjoy this song because it has a pedal steel that kind of pops up in and out throughout the song. And you know, us Nashville folks, we like our pedal steel. The Arylic played it back fine, just like the Spoon song, but again, when I switched over to the WiiM Mini Pro, that pedal steel solo really came out and came alive a lot more. There's this rhythmic sort of acoustic, like chunky guitar rhythmic part that goes through that pedal steel solo. And with the Arylic, it sounded like it was all there. But again, with the WiiM Mini Pro, even that rhythmic section sort of stood out and helped enhance that pedal steel solo even more. So to summarize, the WiiM Mini just sounded more musical to me. It was just beefier. Music sounded a little bit more alive. It's kind of like if you got the Arylic S10, it's like you just got a regular burrito. But with the WiiM Mini, it's like they threw in guacamole for free. Music was just a little bit, had a little bit more flavor, a little spicier, if I can just punish you guys a little bit more with this food analogy. Keep in mind, I am comparing the internal DACs on both of these Arylics. I could not figure out what DAC was inside the Arylic S10, but it looks like there is a brown burr DAC inside the WiiM. And in fact, the manufacturer of the WiiM is really sort of challenging people on using that internal DAC versus an external DAC. But I just wanted you guys to know that my comparison is on the internal DACs here. Another reason why I enjoy the WiiM is because, again, like I mentioned earlier, I could add an external DAC and potentially enhance the sound that much further than the Arylic S10. So all that to say, in this round, I am giving 1 point to the WiiM Mini for its sound performance, which brings the total to Arylic 4, WiiM 3. So I am all out of rounds, and does that mean we have a clear-cut winner with the Arylic coming in at 4 and the WiiM coming in at 3? And I'm gonna be honest with you and tell you that I actually still think it's a tie. And I hope that that's not disappointing to you. I actually don't really think one of these streamers stands that far out more than the other. Like, one is easily the best. And let me explain to you why. I really think both of these streamers have their own place for consumers that may be looking for different options. For instance, the Arylic is really a great sounding streamer for just $80. And someone that's on a budget that may just want to pair one of these to, let's say, a Class D amp and just get up and streaming, they'll probably find this to be right up their alley and at a cheaper price than the WiiM Mini. Also, it has a couple more connectivity options. And that may be more important to them as well. Also, they may really want a remote control. For instance, if you've got one of these Class D amps that doesn't come with a remote, you could have this Arylic paired with it and have your remote pretty much have everything you need. With all that being said about the Arylic, the WiiM Mini really stands out to me as an option for someone that may have a little bit bigger budget. They may want to have something that sounds just a little bit better because they're going to be playing high-res files, whether that be through Tidal, Qobuz, something along those lines. So this may appeal to them more than the Arylic. Also, if they're anything like me and they like subbing pieces of gear in and out of their system, the WiiM gives you the ability to connect that external DAC and be able to continue to experiment with the sound, whereas the Arylic is just making you use that internal DAC only. So while I may not be able to tell you one is specifically better than the other, I would love to know what your opinion is. Let me know in the comments. Would you prefer the WiiM Mini or the Arylic S10? I'd love to know if one of these stands out more to you and why. So please let me know in the comments below. Now, before I end this video, I did want to point out there are several things that are very similar about both of these units. In fact, they're so similar that I didn't want to include them in sort of the competition because actually they're basically the same. And so I didn't really think that they would make that much difference in helping you decide which one to buy. For instance, both of these streamers use apps. One is ForStream for the Arylic S10 and the WiiM is just WiiM Home. And one thing I noticed is I installed both apps on my phone and my iPad only to realize that they're basically the same app. And when I open up one app, for instance, when I open up WiiM Home app, both streamers actually are there. So don't consider the actual app performance because they're basically the same when considering which one to buy. Also, I'll show you this by comparing the boxes on both of these. I didn't want to go through every single streaming services that these streamers can handle because they're basically the same. So if you want to get really nitty-gritty, look them both online. Make sure that the streaming service that you use is applicable, but all the ones that I could think of were available with both streamers. Also, both of these streamers were extremely easy to set up on my Wi-Fi network, and neither one was more complicated than the other, so don't let that impact your choice either. One thing I liked with both of these streamers is that they came with a multitude of cables that would allow you to determine which way you wanted to hook up your system. And that's important because there's nothing worse than buying a piece of gear and then realizing you have to go out and buy a cable. So don't let that impact your choice either. The one thing I would point out again is that the Arylic S10's remote did not come with batteries, so they were AAA batteries. So make sure you have a pair of those before they get to your house. And lastly, both of these streamers can be used in multi-room setups if that's something you're interested in. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these wireless streamers would pair really well with a Class D amplifier like the Fozzy Audio TB10D. If you're interested in learning more about that amplifier, you can watch the video of my review here.